Welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Alison Hargreaves, founding of Gigs for Brides. Welcome, Alison. How are you doing today?
Really well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for having me on.
Good and awesome because I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Gigs for Brides does?
Yes, of course. So Guides for Brides is an online marketing platform for wedding venues and wedding suppliers, primarily in the UK. But we also have a destination wedding arm of the company called Beyond Weddings, which services couples getting married anywhere in the world. So helps businesses in everywhere in the world get in touch with those couples. So basically, very big marketing platform, allowing venues and wedding suppliers to connect with the couples looking for their services.
That's fascinating. And what inspired you to create Gigs for Brides? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yes, I think like a lot of founders, it's living through a particular problem yourself, experiencing it firsthand and seeing how easy the solution is. So for me, that moment was when I was getting married myself. I actually had a wedding cake company that I'd been running for 4 years at that time. So I felt that I knew quite a lot of people within the industry. I was able to make connections to find those suppliers that I was wanting for my own wedding. I wasn't wanting just the really standard run of the mill
Yeah.
wedding, but I wasn't wanting anything that unique. I just wanted to have good quality suppliers that not everyone else was using week in, week out. And it was really difficult. So despite knowing so many people within the industry, I just couldn't source them in the ways that were possible pre-internet. So yes, I started putting together my own little black book and published that, and it just built from that. And we actually launched in 1995, so that was pre-internet. So there was no
Yeah.
social media, there were no websites, there was no email marketing. So very different world. We launched in print, so we could only cover the areas that we physically could get our printed books out into. So inevitably, as soon as the internet came along in around about 1998, we went online. So we were the first major directory to go online, and it just completely revolutionized the business. It allowed us to have much greater reach, and then social
Right.
media again has expanded on that.
Yeah, that's very interesting, honestly. And for example, what was your background before starting this venture?
So I had had a fairly varied background. I think a lot of entrepreneurs follow the same route. No more than 2 years doing anything for a while, and I spent a couple of years out in the States working within the luxury hospitality industry there.
Mm.
So I worked as a private chef for a while there in Palm Beach, and studied there as well. And when I came back, set up a wedding cake company. And yes, as soon as that was up and running, I was then looking for the
Yeah.
next challenge. And that's very much been the picture throughout my career, is this sort of eternally looking for where's the next interesting opportunity? Where can my knowledge base take me next?
Yeah.
And it's been an exciting journey.
Yeah, it is. It is. And also, could you tell us about the UK Wedding Association and its core mission?
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited about this. So we've been noticing over the last few years, we study a lot of data on what couples are looking for. And we've been hearing for years the number of couples that really want to know that they're working with professional suppliers. I think the COVID pandemic brought this to the fore. And during that time, a group of individuals formed the UK Weddings Task Force, which was a government-backed task force to solve the problems we were facing at that time.
Yeah.
But perhaps for the first time, people right at the top of their game within the wedding industry came together. Now, these are all entrepreneurs that have been working within their own business, competing with each other, all suddenly coming together with the same mission. And it allowed for some very open conversations about the problems there were in the industry. Now, at the end of COVID, the wedding industry in particular went back into a period where everyone was incredibly busy. There were year and a half of weddings to service that couldn't have taken place,
Yeah.
and a lot of the work that we did was at risk of being lost. But the messages were still there. Those key messages, what couples were looking for, that need for the industry to be professional, for everyone to be working in a recognised way. It's not a regulated industry, and I think there's commitment from everyone across the industry that it should remain that way.
Right.
But there still needs to be that self-regulation from within the industry, and that sense of this is how, as a responsible sector, we will be operating. So the UK Wedding Association has been forced to put that framework, that structure in place. We're looking at three main areas that really matter to couples, but also really matter for the sustainability of individual businesses, the success and growth potential for every business. So those three areas are professionalism, credibility, and sustainability. So, and particularly environmental sustainability, which is getting more and more important for couples and has been a challenge within the wedding
Yeah.
industry. It is a little bit of a wasteful industry. So, how are we accomplishing that? We will be doing a lot of educational events, networking events with educational elements within them, helping businesses learn how to market themselves better, how to present themselves better. A lot of online content on things like the insurance that they need, what they do need, what they don't need. You know, do you need cyber insurance?
Yeah. Right.
All of those things that an individual SME might not know who to go to for those answers. We've got a board of incredible advisors who have worked within the industry themselves for a significant amount of time and are happy to help any other businesses with challenges that they're facing, just to make sure nobody's facing it alone. And then underpinning all of that for any members, they've got access to our code of conduct, which they can sign up to, and also some benchmarking tools. So the benchmarking tools measure how their business is doing and scoring in terms of professionalism, credibility, and sustainability, so that they can show that in a really transparent way to the couples that they're working with, in a way that couples will understand. Because most couples getting married, it's the first time they've done it,
Yeah.
and they don't know what they should be looking for. They don't know whether the businesses they work with should be giving them a contract, should be carrying public liability insurance, and so on. So actually just giving couples an idea of what they can expect from wedding professionals, and then helping wedding professionals achieve that, is very much what we'll be about.
Yeah. And that's really, really very impressive.
Thank you.
And for example, what are the biggest challenges facing wedding professionals in the UK today?
I think a lot of it is around ensuring that they are able to meet the needs of couples, particularly communication styles with couples. There's been a lot of talk around ghosting within the wedding industry,
Mhm.
and businesses feeling like couples are asking them a question, they're assuming it's a genuine couple, they're replying, and then they hear nothing else, and they are, as we say, ghosted by that couple. But actually, very often it just boils down to the communication methods that perhaps the older generations, and very often the business owners and business operators, are used to a much more open communicative style, whereby you ask a question, somebody answers it, you go back and forth, and there's that conversation
Yeah.
happening over email. That's not how the generation now starting to get married communicate. They may prefer WhatsApp, for example, or they're sending DMs through Instagram, not always coming through email. Sometimes they're sending a WhatsApp and the business will reply by email. That's not what the couple's asked for. So communication has become the biggest issue. But hey, isn't that the same? The world around very often comes down to
Yeah.
challenges around communication.
Right. 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 And for now, how does the UK Wedding Association support its members in navigating these challenges?
A lot of it is through those educational pieces. So letting them know what's available out there, letting them know what tools are out there, letting them know things like wedding venue software has come so far in the last couple of years. There's some incredible businesses like WebPro by Wedding Dates, Brightbiz, Creventa, various companies that are bringing out just incredible software that will help the businesses communicate with the couples in the way they're wanting to, helping them understand how to implement WhatsApp within their venue. So very
Yeah.
often they'll be saying, well, no, everything needs to be within an email system, or it needs to be within our venue software. Okay, finding those ways of matching up businesses with others who have already been through this process and can explain to them how they have navigated it
Mhm.
and how they've solved it. It's only going to help both businesses and reduce the frustration from couples.
Okay, interesting. But I want to go a little bit down because, for example, you mentioned an interesting point. So, for example, how has technology changed the way weddings are planned and executed?
Wow, that's a really good question. Um, I think the way that weddings have been planned, technology has taken over the way people respond to invitations. I think that's probably the most obvious and far-reaching. So it's quite rare now to receive an invitation through the post that you don't then RSVP
Yeah.
by email or by a couple's website. That's making it easier for the couple, less reliant on post. And so I would say that's probably fundamentally one of the the bigger ones, but also from the point of view of image sharing. So image sharing during the planning journey. Couples are now touring venues by video call, so that they're not needing to go out to all of the venues. Particularly destination weddings, absolutely key. Mood boards all being saved online. Pinterest has been quite a popular one.
Yeah.
Inevitably, that's what it's created for. Right down to image sharing after the wedding. So technology being used for photo albums, content creators getting information out straight away after the wedding as an Instagram reel. We are also seeing the flip side of that, that a lot of couples are unplugging for their wedding. So it has become pretty standard etiquette that people will be thinking about social media for their
Yeah.
wedding, and they'll be planning around social media. So that might be a couple of really big ones come to mind. Number one, asking your guests either not to be using their mobile phones, or
Mhm.
not to be posting any images until the couple themselves have posted that
Yeah.
first image. The other one that we've seen this year, it started last season, much more so this season, probably, hopefully, will have burnt out by next season, will be the Instagrammable weddings. So it is one of the pieces of advice we give to all of the venues that we do consultancy with is around having somewhere between 8 and 11 Instagrammable points within their venues, so that the couple can get that hero image and get their
Yeah.
guests sharing all of those images. But couples are going a step further. They're making their entire wedding Instagrammable. So not only have they got the perfectly matched bridesmaids, or perfectly matched and coordinated bridesmaids, groomsmen, bridal party, wedding party, they're also asking their guests to follow a particular dress code. So
Interesting.
monochrome was the really big one, or guests, really unusually for weddings, being asked to all dress in white. I mean,
Mhm.
how unusual is that? But really, really to get those really striking wedding photos and those
Right.
Instagrammable points.
Okay, okay, this is interesting. And also, could you elaborate on why the existing solutions weren't meeting these needs in the beginning?
So I would say, from the point of view of the software solutions, were probably the ones that would jump to mind if you're looking at ones that weren't originally fully solving the problem and are really, really hitting the mark now. And I think the software that was available for wedding venues and suppliers to manage weddings and wedding planners either came from the US, so
Yeah.
wasn't really configured to work that well with UK weddings. Weddings in any culture, any country are a little different from each other. So they were very much the American cookie cutter wedding that they were
Yeah.
designed for. Or the ones that were designed specifically for a UK audience weren't necessarily the the right match for everything that every business was looking for. And I think that's that really, really hard one for the technology founders to work out who their client is, to try not to be too generalist, to identify whether they're going after the individual owner operated venues, for example, or if they're going after suppliers, or if they're going after groups of venues. Venues with accommodation on site have very, very different needs from other venues. Venues running 80 to 250 weddings a year have very different needs from
Wow.
the venues running the smaller numbers of weddings. And I think this is where the software companies really struggled to start with. They were hearing the needs of all of the clients out there, and they were very, very diverse needs. Trying to meet all those needs were difficult. What's happened now is the different softwares have chosen their own track, and it's much, much clearer who the clients are that will suit a particular type of software. They really have chosen their lanes, and as a business that helps advise wedding venues in particular, but also suppliers, we have found it much easier to say this would be the right software for you to
Yeah.
use. It's very much designed with businesses like yours in mind and has been designed to solve those problems.
Okay, I get it. I get it now. And walk us through how Gifts for Brides addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Our approach is unique in that we give really, really honest, trusted advice, and that's really lacking in commercial industry now. So, yes, we receive commission from a certain number of businesses if we promote the services they offer. That doesn't stop us from recommending whatever it is that's right for the client. Usually, we partner with the businesses, or exclusively, we partner with the businesses that we genuinely believe in and are comfortable to recommend. But we will always find the right match for the client. It's very much the client's need that comes first. And this is a face-to-face solution. This isn't about us using technology. It's us using our knowledge, our
Yeah.
relationship with our clients, and our knowledge of those clients in order to identify the right technology solution for them, and then putting them in touch so that the tech partner can take over from there.
Okay, I see. And how does the association help members stay competitive in the market?
The most important factor from the UK Wedding Association point of view is going to be giving the professional, credible, and sustainable businesses the means of showcasing that in a really,
Mhm.
really visible and transparent way. So any member that signed the code of conduct will be able to display their membership badge on their website, and straight away couples will start to identify that, and more importantly, wedding planners and wedding venues will start to identify that with businesses that are working to a particular standard. And it's our intention that although this will be the UK Wedding Association and will be based on the standards we expect within the UK, we know from speaking to wedding professionals in other countries that the UK is recognised as having high standards right the way across the board within the weddings and event sector. So our expectation is that the UK Wedding Association badge will become recognised internationally as being a very quick and easy way for couples planning destination weddings and for venues in other countries to be able to recognise the really good, credible planners that know what they're doing, that know what insurance they need, that know what regulations they need to follow, know how to complete a risk assessment. It will give them the means to be able to recognise those
Right.
businesses instantly.
Okay, okay, see. And for example, I have a curiosity by then. So, what are some common misconceptions couples have about wedding planning?
Misconceptions that wedding couples have about wedding planning, I think, is probably um, almost all around cost. So,
Mm,
understanding the real cost of a wedding and where that cost comes from. So, there's been a long standing misconception that there is a tax that's added to anyone that is planning a wedding, that as soon as you mention wedding, that the cost goes up. Uh, Anything that involves a wedding usually involves layers and layers of complexity. Yeah, a birthday cake, a single tier birthday cake, compared to a multi-tiered wedding cake, you can't just go right. Three birthday cakes equals this amount,
right.
therefore a three tier. All of the risk is in how it's built. All of the cost goes into how that's built, but also that difference to if it's wedding professionals, they've got the cost of being properly insured, properly paying their workers, having their premises inspected, having the costs of bringing their premises up to the right standards, and having those absolute assurances that your wedding guests will be looked after. And all
Right.
you need to do is listen out for horror stories about holidays, horror stories about birthday parties, about public events, and they are commonplace. You just don't get that around weddings, and it's because everything is supplied to a high standard to make sure that your wedding day goes smoothly. I am yet to meet a wedding business that's made vast amounts of money through charging couples getting married or wedding planners that they work with above the odds. They don't. They charge what is fair for the amount of work that goes into it. And I would say the couples that invest in a wedding planner, that's probably the biggest challenge. I mean, goodness, the
Mm,
amount of work that goes into a wedding. I know one planner has been talking about it a lot online recently. Around 450 hours goes into each wedding, and the
wow.
couple are thinking that they can get that for £1,000. No, it's just not possible. It's a lot of work that goes into planning something where you need to make sure the contingency is all there. Now, that
Right.
doesn't mean that you can't get married on a budget, but if you are wanting 1,000 matching white roses, then you've got to pay that much more, because your florist needs to be able to work with the flower auctions and guarantee that they're going to have 1,000 identical roses. That's a lot of waste. So a lot of that is around the work that we can do is educating around that. How can
Yeah.
couples that need to save money cut their costs without increasing risk? And
Mhm.
very, very often there's little things that can be done that are beautifully sustainable as well, that will help. Giving your florist that flexibility. It doesn't need to be 1,000 identical roses that are all perfectly at the same point of being in bloom, which is going to incur huge amounts of waste. Actually, as a couple, we're quite comfortable with having a range of white roses, for example, and they can be in or out of bloom. That's absolutely fine. Just be a bit more relaxed, and it solves everyone. It solves a lot of problems, and reduces a lot of stress for everyone along the way, and that reduces costs.
Okay, interesting one. And also, could you share examples of success stories from your members?
So the UK Wedding Association is a brand new association. So at the moment, it's too early to share success stories from any of our members from the UK Wedding Association. But Guides for Brides has been involved in everything from matching up wedding planners with wedding venues that then take them on full time. I would say that's probably quite a lot of the work we do is matching people. Again, we're very much a people-oriented business. So when we identify that there might be perhaps a wedding planner that isn't loving working in a variety of venues, very, very high levels of customer care, that actually they'd be better suited to one of the many venues that's desperately looking for someone who can really, really give their couples that nurturing that's needed. So matching those up and meaning somebody has a really, really meaningful career as a result of a single email we might send, a single phone call we can make. That's always quite meaningful to us. I think one of our biggest success stories was in the early days of weekend weddings. So weekend weddings are fairly commonplace now, where a couple will take over a country house, a wedding venue from the Friday to the Sunday evening or even Monday morning. But we were there very much at the beginning of this becoming a trend, and launched the concept under turnkey weddings. It was termed as at the time. And our very, very first venue that we launched under this concept was about an hour outside London in a lovely village in Oxfordshire. And they were absolutely inundated with bookings, to the point they were having weddings every weekend throughout the year. They moved into their guest cottage so that their main house could be used as a wedding venue, and the neighbours got upset. So huge success story for us, huge success story from the point of view of the business. Unfortunately, it did lead to the venue having to close down entirely. It grew way too big, way too fast for a
Yeah.
little village, but a phenomenal service that they supplied to the 60, 80 couples who managed to get married in this fabulous little village in the meantime.
Right, 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 right. And now, looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
Sustainability, obviously, we've all got to have a close eye on that, and that's coming now from the top down. So we're seeing the couples demanding it very often because somebody within the family or the couples themselves want to make a very, very clear statement on their wedding day. They don't want to look back on their wedding photos and to be embarrassed of the choices they made on their wedding day. So they're wanting to work with event partners that can make sure
Mhm.
that their wedding is genuinely sustainable. So
Okay.
that's probably the key global change that we're seeing that's going to make a big difference. It is going to be hard in weddings. It really is. And I think across the industry, it's a matter of taking those small steps wherever the businesses can that will start to make those small differences. And enough of those little 1% improvements will have an impact. The UK services around 270,000 weddings a year. So if each wedding can make just a small difference, it really is going to have an impact.
Okay, I see. And in your opinion, what do you think most business owners are getting wrong when they're trying to address this specific problem?
I think trying to do too much to start off with, and then being overwhelmed. So it goes back to taking those little baby footsteps, making one change this week that they can maintain. You know, it might be changing to a more sustainable bank. It might be looking at who their web hosting is with. It might be looking at the single-use plastics that they're using and seeing what they can eliminate. So I think businesses need to start looking at ways to be more sustainable rather than feeling that they need to be sustainable. It's going to be
Yeah.
different, yet difficult. I know it's the ideal that a business can say that they are carbon neutral. That would be the dream. But I think for very many businesses, the mistake they're making is feeling this is going to be too difficult, therefore we won't do anything.
Okay, I see. And what advice would you give to couples planning their wedding in the UK?
I wouldn't know where to start on that one. My goodness, so much. Do it their way. Not worry too much. Be flexible. I think the couples that have a fabulous wedding are the ones that perhaps set their expectations around their relationship and
Hmm.
spending quality time with their guests rather than trying to engineer an event.
Yeah,
So I think keeping the focus on what it should be about, the two of them and the people that are really important to them. Communicate well with your suppliers, and communicate well with your guests. It's fine to tell people that they're not invited. It's fine to tell people that they're not going to be a bridesmaid. Just avoid the miscommunication in the process.
yeah, great advice though. And as you wrap up, what's next for Geese for Bright? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
Guides for Brides is going to continue to evolve. What we're finding is we're moving a lot of our activity is moving towards social media, moving towards influencer led articles. Couples are wanting to know that we've seen things, experienced things. We're getting out of the office now more and more. Beyond Weddings is doing the same. Beyond Weddings is, I'm literally just back from the Amalfi Coast yesterday because that's one of the wedding hotspots at the moment. So we try to get out to these wedding hotspots, see them, experience them, because that's important to our couples. If a couple's thinking about getting married in a particular area, for us, for either Guides for Brides or for Beyond, for us to be able to say, yeah, we've been to that venue, we've been to that area. We can give first-hand experience. Anyone can get information from the internet. There's so much information out there, and
Yeah,
in the future people will be using AI to plan their weddings, but most couples, that's not what they're wanting. They're wanting that personal experience. They want to know that we have spoken to the business owner, that we speak to them every year, that we understand the challenges, we're helping them with their challenges, and that the couple can trust the most important day in their on their horizon,
yeah,
to the businesses that we present to them.
yeah, 100%. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work for Geese for Brides, what's the best way to get in touch?
So I am on LinkedIn, so Alison Hargreaves, but otherwise straight through the website. So Alison at guidesforbrides.co.uk, or for the UK Wedding Association, which is relevant to anyone that works with anyone, either businesses within the wedding industry or businesses wanting to connect with the wedding industry. Alison at ukweddingassociation.co.uk. And we're launching over the next week. We formally launched in May. We're bringing members on board during September and October. So it'd be great to hear from anyone right now.
Great, perfect, perfect. So thank you very much for sharing your insights about you, about the company, and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
Thank you very much for hosting.
See you in the next episode.